Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live.
Let me tell you, the dopamine, it's flowing.
I am damn excited. Damn excited.
We are so excited to be joining you guys tonight.
Oh!
Well, how you doing, man? Patrick.
Will Sterling.
Yeah.
Super Bowl champion, two-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Oh, he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score!
And we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.
Welcome in to the Arrowhead Addict podcast. My name is Bryce Carter. This is the Intangibles. Joining me today, it's my good buddy Christian Ainsworth, and we are here to cope and seethe and just, burn things down over the Chiefs starting 0-2, 3 straight losses in Patrick Mahomes' career. We're here to break it all down today on our Monday reaction podcast and film review podcast as well. Before we get going there, before we start talking about the Kansas City Chiefs, Christian, I have a bone to pick with you. So
What's this about?
my good friend Christian here is currently a student at Missouri University, Mizzou, and we are taking a little pod road trip. By we, I mean me, because he's in Columbia, to go to Mizzou, South Carolina. Some excellent college football being played, primetime. Lenora Sellers, Bo Prabula, this should be a great game. My good friend Christian, we're texting back and forth about the game, hoping that we'll get to see Lenora Sellers healthy after he clears concussion protocol. And he texts me and says, "Hey, by the way, it's a whiteout game." I was like, "Okay, cool." So I order a white Mizzou shirt for the occasion, enemy territory. Although I will say I will be wearing Nebraska stuff on the way there because I'll be watching Nebraska Michigan, which is a huge game in Memorial Stadium, on the way there. But anyways, he texts me whiteout this week, and I tell my brother-in-law, who's coming with us too, also a big college football fan, hey, get some white Mizzou stuff. So we both have acquired white Mizzou shirts for this occasion. And then my brother-in-law texts me this morning a picture of an Instagram post from Mizzou football that says "Wear black." So, Christian, were you trying to make us look like dumbasses in front of your friends? Or what's the plan here?
You asked me what time the game was too, and I was like, "Oh, I'll just go on my university because I have a university password and everything to go in there and see exactly when events are." And it was like, "Oh, it's either going to start at 6 or 6:30, and it's a whiteout game." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I mean, I feel like I would have heard that, but I'll send them a text and let them know what's up. But no, I had no idea that they were going to swap that out. I don't know if that was just pre-made on the schedule. I know sometimes the university kind of lags with that new information on those sites. So that's what I'm banking on. But if you really need the $25 it took for that shirt, I can reimburse you, Price. I got you, big dog.
No, it's okay. You're the college kid. It's fine. I just cracking me up that we would have showed up at this tailgate with the literal opposite shirts.
Oh yeah,
what we're supposed to have, but it's all good. So that will be fun. Really looking forward to that. Not really looking forward to talking about this Chiefs game today. We are going to kind of change how we do our Monday podcast. In the past, what we have done is kind of picked a different thing to talk about each week. Since most of the Chiefs games are on Mondays, which is kind of hard to say with the way that they play, we are going to just kind of use this as our film breakdown. By this time, I've usually reviewed the entire all 22 film, not just because I want to, but also because I have to for some of my other work that I do for FTN. So I chart every play, take a look at that. So we're going to be just kind of taking about what our top takeaways were for the game and what stood out to us most. Obviously, this is a lot to talk about today as the Chiefs do fall to the Philadelphia Eagles 20-17 in a game that I'll be frankly just absolutely frustrating to watch and to take in because of how the offense plays, because of the mistakes that were made. A very winnable game slipped through their hands this week. So we're going to be breaking that all down. But first, we were talking about watching some college football. There's no better way to get in on the action with college football or NFL football, or honestly, any sport. The MLB playoffs are coming up here too, with Underdog. Tonight, Monday Night Football doubleheader. Frankly, I hate the doubleheaders, especially the one that's starting at 10:30. That game is not. Daddy's not going to be awake for that game. Okay, I posted last night the Keanu Reeves from what is that really famous movie he's in?
The Matrix? Are you talking about the Matrix?
No, the John Wick.
John Wick. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
and it's I'm thinking I'm back, except I'm thinking it's bedtime. Like that Sunday night football game was, I'm thinking it's bedtime. I'm thinking it's going to be bedtime for me for this Chargers Raiders game. But nevertheless, Underdog, you put together a couple of picks. Here's what I'm looking at for this game. Love putting these together. First off, Underdog, they give you all these great promos. Like Justin Herbert, do you think he's going to have more than one passing yard? Probably.
I'd say so.
Well, you can throw that into your card right there, and that gives you one free pick. I like Emeka Ibuka higher than 4.5 receptions. You heard it here first. I loved Emeka Ibuka during the draft. Ashton Genty lower than 17.5 rush attempts. That's a lot. That's a lot of rush attempts there. And Lad McConkey over 5.5 receptions. And I also like Keenan Allen, who's over 4.5. So you can put a card together on Underdog and just get more on the game. It's the best place to play and to make the game mean more. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. Download the app today and sign up with our promo code Arrowhead Addict to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code Arrowhead Addict, all one word. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog, make picks, win money. Must be 18 years or older, 19 years or older in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 in Colorado for some games, 21 in Massachusetts and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/web play and get terms _DFS_.html. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.npcgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369. I swear, like Richard or our producers, they were just pulling a trick on us, and they just like add another thing to that every time. And then one time I'm just going to be going to be like 35 minutes later, and I'm like reciting the states and capitals. I don't know.
That wouldn't surprise me, dude. There are so many updates to this little doc we've got. I mean, and you know Sean, so he could be doing anything.
So, all right, game is over. What's just kind of your 5,000-foot view of this game? The loss in Arrowhead. What is we'll get into our top 5 things here in a minute, but just kind of state of the union here in the Chiefs Kingdom.
I'd say that this game kind of showed all of the cracks in the Chiefs' armor. I think that when you look at all of the mistakes that were made, I think that if you pointed that out before the season started, everyone would have been like, okay, yeah, that is realistic. Like the running back room isn't great. Our wide receivers weren't on the field at the same time. Mahomes didn't trust those wide receivers down the stretch. Like our interior offensive line was a little sketchy at times. Like to me, it was just like everything bad that we could have predicted happened.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. It's weird. That game was frustrating in some like execution ways that really just drove you up a wall, because it's like they had that game. Like they absolutely could have won that game. They are as much responsible for losing that game as the Eagles are winning it. However, the game you should be more pissed about, the one that should really piss you off, is the Chargers game. Yeah. Unenergetic, poor execution against a much worse offense and much worse team. Like the talent deficiency between the Eagles and the Chargers is real. So it's kind of weird, because obviously we're more frustrated with the thing that happened more recently with the Eagles game. But frankly, I think the Chargers loss is more frustrating. This team, like if I could just take like a microcosm of all of my analysis from this game, this team has no margin for error. And they created errors last week. They don't have a margin for error to turn the ball over in the red zone with a pass that frankly should have been caught. They do not have margin for error to be taking false start penalties on 3rd down to push them out of field goal range, or to make what would have been a makeable field goal into a long field goal that ends up being missed. They don't have the restraint, the ability to overcome neutral zone infractions on defense. And I'll throw this out here because I feel like we need to continue to drive the momentum on this. They don't have the ability to overcome the refs taking a very important play off because it's this weird play that they just don't officiate in the tush push.
Yeah, I want to be clear. 3 in a row or 4 in a row or however many it was.
The Chiefs did not lose that game because of the tush push. but it did not help. And it's a play that's officiated totally different than the rest of the game. And more than anything, how boring is it that you can watch a game and you can tell, like, the announcers, they already know. They're like, and AJ Brown is down with the pass. It's a 3rd down and 2. You know what that means? It's time for the tush push. Like, they're not even. It's so boring. Game on the line, right? There's a moment there that they have to convert to basically seal the game. Game on the line, and that's the play. You don't even get to see the ball because the center's covering it up because he's not supposed to. So that'll be my requisite, like, 5 seconds on the tush push.
Well,
But yeah,
here's the thing though, is that like it's an unstoppable move that they have that only their team can pull off, right? So I honestly don't have a problem with it, especially from a coaching standpoint, because it's like, yeah, stop us, but it's also like it's impossible to stop it when both the guards are in the neutral zone.
well,
The center is
I don't have
over the ball. They false start every single time. It's like, yeah, of course it's unstoppable. If you let my guys go before your guys every play, it doesn't matter anyway. You run any play and be unstoppable.
again, I don't have a problem with the play itself. I have a problem with the way it's officiated. If you want to tell me that the center doesn't have his head over the ball, if the guards are firing on time, and I'm not even going to get into the whether pushing, like, right now the NFL is allowing players to push players. The Chiefs have pushed players over the goal line over the years. That's fine. That's a whole other issue. But, like, just call the play correctly, man. That's the thing that's frustrating, is that they're just not. So I don't have a problem with the play. Like, for instance, Tom Brady was almost 92% accurate with his QB sneak. He was a great QB sneaker. There's a lot of teams that can just run the good old QB sneak. I don't need the QB sneak to be outlawed. I just need that play to be officiated correctly. That is really what I would just like to see.
Well,
But
it's also frustrating as a Chiefs fan when we just don't run that play. You know what I mean? Like, this other team has it and they can use it as effectively as they want, and Andy Reid just refuses to run the play because of a freak injury that happened to Mahomes like 5 years ago.
yeah, and then running a sweep with Kareem Hunt and 4th down, a guy
Oh,
who, like,
God.
just the ability to get out to the edge is almost nothing, was not particularly great either. All right, so let's get into this. We'll mix in the good with the bad here. I just want to remind you guys, there's been a stat going around. I think James Palmer or someone who is an NFL reporter put this out, that I think 12.1% of teams that have started 0-2 have made the playoffs that year. I've not heard many Chiefs fans who say, like, oh, they're not going to make the playoffs. Just a reminder, last year, the Broncos were 0-2 with Bo Nix and made the playoffs. Okay. So, and they beat out a Bengals team that had a fully healthy Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins for almost a full year, and they still made the playoffs. So the Broncos can make the playoffs at 0-2 with Bo Nix. We can definitely, have the Chiefs making the playoffs. So I see we have our requisite Matt Nagy discussion going on in the comment section. Look, I'll just say this: like, I've been one of the people that's been more outspoken about the fact that I don't think Matt Nagy is the problem here in Kansas City. I think it's a talent deficiency. The only thing I will say on the other side of this is the offense hasn't looked good in years, and it's starting to get frustrating that you can watch a backup quarterback and an offensive line that just gets Joe Burrow murdered every year come in and light up the scoreboard. Or you got the Giants game where they can light up the scoreboard with Russell Wilson and an absolutely dreadful offensive line and Malik Neighbors, and that's it. And then they can put up 40 points. It's just like, why is this offense seem so complicated and constipated all the time? Here's what I will say. I don't think that the primary blame lies on Matt Nagy, but at some point he does have to bear some responsibility for this. At the end of the day, I think that if the Chiefs, like, let's say Matt Nagy for some reason has to step away from the team, I don't think the team would I don't think anything would change, right? I don't necessarily think. And Mitchell Schwartz made a nice post about this. A guy who has played with Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, all pro. And he said as much too. He was it was interesting that he pointed out that Mike Kafka was a bigger loss than the Chiefs might have expected. But I don't know. That's my 10 cents on the Matt Nagy thing. I'll let you talk about it because it seems like that's all anyone wants to talk about.
Yeah, and to me, this is the most bullshit argument of all time. Like, you look at any other coach around the league, you look at Jim Harbaugh, it's not like they're blaming the defensive coordinator when the defense struggles. You look at who's the Bills coach? Sean McDermott. Whenever the defense or whenever the offense fails, they don't look at Sean McDermott and go, "Hey, this is all your fault." You're looking at the defensive coach or the defense coordinator, excuse me. You're looking at whatever primary side of the ball the head coach is on. That's who should bear the brunt of the blame here. To me, yeah, the offense was pretty good back in 2022 before Matt Nagy got here. 2023, Matt Nagy gets here. We start to see a regression. There's a million different reasons why that could be other than we swapped offensive coordinators, especially when Eric Bieniemy hasn't gotten a foothold anywhere else in the league. Like he's the running back coach for the Bears right now, and their running game is awful. So if the Chiefs could do it with him, I think it has more to do with who the personnel is rather than the offensive coordinator, who I think at this point is essentially just an extension of the quarterback coach. So I just have a hard time blaming him, especially when you look around the team and are like, okay, what's our wide receiver room made up of? It's like, okay, well, 3 unreliable guys, and I guess without Worthy, I guess you could take out of that, and then a bunch of guys who who weren't good enough to make the Patriots wide receiver room. So it's like, yeah, is the offense struggling? Yeah, okay, what other offense wouldn't struggle? You know what I mean? This to me is just a nonsensical argument where we go back and forth and be like, well, we have to blame somebody, but it can't be Brett Veach because he drafts pretty good, and it can't be Andy Reid because we love him. So I guess it has to be.
Believe me, there's plenty of blame to go around. I've seen all of those people blamed. I saw a comment in here about the 2022 offense having no talent, and yet they were the number 1 offense because I guess Eric Bieniemy is some wizard. Just a reminder, that was the best running team that the Chiefs have had under Patrick Mahomes since like Kareem Hunt left the first time. They actually had a real ground game back then because they had Orlando Brown, who's a good run blocker. They were moving bodies in the run game that year.
They also had like in tail end of prime Travis Kelce.
Yeah, that was his last best year. Juju was not the player he is today. MVS was pretty good that year. I mean, here's what I'll say. I don't think that offense is as depleted as we like to make it sound. And also keep in mind, they were the 1 seed. They had the Mahomes ankle injury. Like there was a lot of things that made that team what it was, ending up winning in a Super Bowl. But Jerick McKinnon was a huge part of that too. They do not have that player right now. They do not have that type of player who can be a real passing option out of the backfield. But I want to shift to the positives here. And this is my number 1 biggest takeaway watching all 22. You could tell me we forget every little thing about this game. The thing that matters most. The Kansas City Chiefs have their franchise left tackle. Josh Simmons was excellent in this game. And if I told you that you could exchange an 0-2 start to the season for the Chiefs to figure out left tackle long-term, you take that every day. It is the movement skills. It is his ability to recover. And even if he's losing off the snap, his ability to recover and get his hands where they need to be, the mobility skills. He's not an ass kicker in the run game like you'd like, but hey, he can develop there. The pass protection is something, it's fixed. It's something that the Chiefs have needed for years. He is a rookie. He's starting 2 games into the season last year. Kingsley Suamataia was sitting in the locker room by himself. Nobody wanted to talk to him because he got embarrassed by Trey Hendrickson so bad. And Kingsley Suamataia comes out against a really good Eagles pass rush and allows 0 pressures. That is massive. You will get Rashee Rice back. You will get Xavier Worthy back. There's someone else on the offensive line we need to talk about here in a little bit. But if I tell you those things, this offense has a lot more ceiling left because of Josh Simmons. And obviously, we'll call out him hitting 18 miles an hour to track down the defensive back, Andrew Makuba. Really nice hustle play from him. And I mean, how about the bullshit of character concerns, maturity concerns, all those? It must have been the Chiefs that were saying that, right? Like, oh, he's a real AH. You don't want this guy, because that was a football character play, and he handled his rehab professionally and came in and was ready ahead of schedule. The character has not been a factor at all. The health has not been a factor at all. You cannot be more excited about what the Chiefs got at the 32nd overall pick than what they've gotten in Josh Simmons.
Oh, 100%. And you talked about the Chiefs pass protection being fixed here. 2.95 seconds to throw last night. 2.95. That's well above league average of 2.6 seconds to throw.
And I mean, some of
Those
that
guys
some of that
like
was kind of fluky too, because they're at the end, they were kind of stretching the field out of necessity. But
that's true.
either way, we can just kind of get to the other side of the coin. If Josh Simmons is going to be that guy, Kingsley Suamataia cannot be the person he was.
Oh,
Be-
100%. 100%.
Last week it was tenable. What he did this week was not tenable. And let's be clear, Josh, Jalen Carter's really, really good. 33.8 PFF grade. He allows 1 sack, 4 hurries, 5 pressures. That's 8 pressures on him for the season. The thing is that his quick losses are brutal. There is no recovery there. There is no, for God's sake, hold the guy. At least try, and that is not sustainable at left guard. And obviously, you'd much rather have the weakness at left guard than left tackle. But Kingsley Suamataia, I don't know how long of a leash he has at left guard. But I don't know, man. Is it time to start thinking about seeing what someone else has there? Because he didn't have a lot of time to throw, despite Josh Simmons' stats that I just cited.
Yeah, but here's the thing is that I think that especially at a position like left guard where you can sort of shade your center over there to help. And granted, the Eagles did a great job of sending a blitz to that right side of the offensive line to keep him there or keep Creed to the right side so that Kingsley would be in those one-on-one situations. There are not a whole lot of D tackles in the league that can pass rush like Jalen Carter. And if you're telling me that the weakest link of the offensive line is a left guard, I'm going to be all right with that. A hell of a lot better than left tackle, as we saw from last season. The only thing that I'll say, though, is that you get this extended time with Mahomes. I think that this really kind of proves the point that I think we made a few weeks ago, which is offensive line sets the floor and skill position players sets the ceiling of the offense. And so you can only do so much, if you don't have an offensive line. If you can't get the ball snapped to the quarterback, you can't do anything. The Chiefs can get the ball back there to Mahomes. Again, that left guard position is a little so right now, but that really brings out, our wide receivers and how they can't get open, which I think a lot of people were pissed off about last night.
Yeah. This was an opportunity for Hollywood Brown to kind of take another step within the team, and we didn't really see it. And Tyquan Thornton, I think you'll be really excited about what you have in him when you get the full pieces of the offense back, knowing he's the 4th or 5th option. But it appears he can only run straight up. He can only run 9 routes, and that's about it. Which, okay, I mean, that's hey, again, for them to get a player off the practice squad, that's basically what MVS was for them. Huge win. And right now he already has 100 yards receiving. That's close to a career high for him. His career high is 230. So massive win there. Just wish it wasn't the context that it was. Christian, let's hear what's one of the takeaways that you had from watching the film.
So mine's a little bit more big picture as far as my bigger takeaways here, but I think the film bears it out. Our skill position players are just too unreliable at this point in time. And again, we'll see some reliability come back when Worthy makes it back and Rashee Rice comes back. But I think when you look at Pacheco and his vision, I don't think that his vision was fantastic last night. Brashard Smith, our other running back, he's in a situation where he's literally played running back for 1 full year before coming to the Chiefs. 1 year as a running back in college. You can't rely on somebody like that, especially when they're using him like this sort of gadget sort of guy, which I think will be a perfect spot for him. You see guys like Thornton, who was cut or not cut, but was not good enough to make the Patriots wide receiver room, and you go, we need some reliability here. You look at the offensive line, left tackle reliable, finally. Left guard, we talked about it. So center reliable, right guard reliable, right tackle, kind of reliable.
You can rely on the penalties.
Yeah. When he's not committing penalties, he's a badass. Unfortunately, that's you get 1 or 2 a game with him. But then you look at the rest of the team, and it's like, okay, we're reliable in a lot of places. It just really, really bears out. And I think last game was a perfect example of it. We just don't have the guys there right now to be reliable on offense. And I think that if you told any Chiefs fan, hey, predict the score of this game, except you don't have Xavier Worthy and you don't have Rashee Rice, I think almost everybody would have said, okay, we might lose game 2. But the only reason that we were projecting a win here is because we lost game 1. against the Chargers, and we were expecting a bounce back.
I just want to address this. I see this in the chat, like DeAndre Hopkins going to the Ravens. DeAndre Hopkins, I don't think that the Chiefs ever really wanted to acquire DeAndre Hopkins. They just had to because things had gotten so bad at the wide receiver position. DeAndre Hopkins, the Chiefs gave DeAndre Hopkins opportunities. He dropped a lot of passes in Kansas City for some reason. There's at least 3 or 4 of them that like he just forgot how to be a contested catch person. Maybe he's healthier this year. And keep in mind, he was a midseason acquisition, not a training camp. Like he wasn't here all training camp. I'm not entirely sure what the full effect of that. Here's what I'll tell you. DeAndre Hopkins being on this team isn't changing what we're talking about right now. Another slow guy who can't separate. If you want to tell me that at least he's reliable because he'll stay healthy, okay, that's fine. That he would have been an upgrade over Juju Smith-Schuster, but he's not a player that the Chiefs have really used consistently, that larger bodied X. And he had his issues in Kansas City. I can understand why they didn't want to sign him. If you came away from his time in Kansas City thinking he was washed, I mean, that drop that he had in the Super Bowl, he could have scored, which is saying something because he's not particularly fast.
Well, it's important to remember too that learning the playbook was a huge issue for him as well, and that's been reported by multiple people. Him not getting the full grasp. You talk about like not being here in the preseason and during camp and stuff like that. That affects what all player can do. But yeah, you're right. Being able to not catch footballs at the wide receiver position is a detriment. And if you told me we didn't want to re-sign MVS for the same reasons, I would say I see the train of thought. I understand what you're saying.
And something that I'll say too, this is really a burr in my saddle. There are some people, and this kind of goes back to our draft mindset, like they cannot bring themselves to like undersized players. Like it doesn't matter what the analysis is around any of it. Oh, he's a small player, I don't like him. Some larger podcasts have been like collecting receipts for the Chiefs because they have an underside wide receiver core, and that's where they are, where Hollywood Brown is getting pushed off his spot by Cooper DeJean on a mesh route and stuff like that. And it's like, well, he's small. Xavier Worthy's hurt because he's small. And don't get me wrong, I do think if Rashee Rice runs into Travis Kelce, I'm not sure that's a torn labrum. But keep in mind too, the Chiefs were without their 2 bigger wide receiver. Juju Smith-Schuster is fairly sized, but no one's really acknowledged, like most of the larger media has not acknowledged that Jalen Royals is injured because they've not seen Jalen Royals on the field. But I do think that there was a real situation that he was going to play some snaps, and he's closer to the size of Rashee Rice. So yeah, there are 2 bigger body wide receivers who actually have and can play X receiver are both out, one with a surprise injury. And don't get me wrong, the Chiefs have made their bed and they'll have to lay in it too, as far as drafting a player at risk who had issues at SMU, who is off several people's boards, and then drafting the guy who's 165 pounds and signing Hollywood Brown. But with all that being said, it's not like they've just completely built their wide receiver room out of like the munchkins. Okay.
Oh yeah.
That just bugs me.
Well, and it's like some of this is just bad luck. Like obviously the Rashee Rice shit is just dumb. You're just doing dumb shit, and you got to pay your penalty for that. But the Xavier Worthy injury, just weird. Like just a weird injury. And the same thing with Hollywood Brown last year. It's like, hey, you broke your collarbone on the first play of what was it? Was it the preseason? The first offensive play of the preseason? It's like, yeah, that really sucks. But that's a freak injury. You can't play into that. But I can see where some people would say, they're lighter receivers. They're probably going to get injured more frequently, but not like that. You see more concussions with guys like that than you see torn labrums and broken collarbones.
Yeah. And this kind of leads me to my next big observation. If we're going to make a blame pie here, Mahomes gets the smallest slice. But this team, the way that it's built, the way it's structured around the cap, everything about this team the last 3 or 4 years has been centered around Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, and Andy Reid being great. And then we'll figure out the rest later. And yes, they've had big contributions from other players, but those stars have to be at their best for this team to continue to be what it is. And none of those guys had particularly great days yesterday. Patrick Mahomes, again, gets the least amount of blame here. But even he, he got that touchdown pass back that he missed badly with Tyquan Thornton. But what was the deciding factor in this game was time. They could have scored much more quickly and possibly given themselves a chance to get the ball back instead of having to stop a tush push on 3rd and 1 to basically seal the game. And he missed a wide open pass to Noah Gray on the corner out on the first drive. Like, he was not without resolve in this game. Obviously, he did a great job of putting the team on his back and did really do some nice stuff, but that hurt. And then Andy Reid, I thought, had a rough game. The amount of times, and this really, like, if you want to talk about intrusive thoughts, questions that you might not want to ask yourself, we're talking about this Matt Nagy chicken or egg Andy Reid question. What if the answer it's Andy Reid that's just not doing well anymore? That the play design, the edge that he used to have. I mean, man, I chart another game besides the Chiefs every week. The Chiefs offense looks different than almost any offense in the NFL anymore. The amount of pure play action, under center, drop back, like, you watch these completions that other teams are making, and it's just like, wow, that was so easy and so automatic. Why are the Chiefs not capable of doing that? Is that an Andy Reid thing? Is it a Pat thing? Like, Pat likes it a certain way and Andy's working with Pat. I'm not sure, but the offense is unimaginative. There were some questionable calls there. I didn't like necessarily punting that close to where they punted. They did end up getting the ball back, but I believe it was about the 4.5 minute mark or so that they put it back instead of going for it on like 4th and 5. They should have just went for it there. Yeah. And we talked about the sweep to Kareem Hunt. All those things are frustrating. And then the much bigger slice of the pie. I mean, you could argue. I'm not going to argue because no game boils down to 2 plays. You could argue if Travis Kelce was just wedding planning and podcasting instead of playing for the Chiefs, they might be 2-0. I don't want that to be true. I don't think it's true because, again, these games are not won or lost on one play. But a lack of focus, he injures Xavier Worthy. That was a huge impact in that game. In that same game, he runs a short crossing route that he doesn't run all the way. You see Patrick Mahomes pointing at him and say, go, why'd you stop? And that could have been another touchdown that they weren't able to convert on. And then, obviously, in this game, turns what should be a touchdown into the biggest swing in expected points in the entire game, where would have been a pick 6 if not for a Josh Simmons hustle play. Look, man, you came in here and you lost weight, and I think that's great, and it's definitely obvious that you're putting that time in. I do think he looks a little bit more spry with the ball in his hands. There were some nice yak moments where he's stiff arming Cooper DeJean and getting free. But if your head's not in the game and you're going to make these mental mistakes, what are we doing here? Because you cannot be the catalyst for the offense. And is Chris Jones going to show up? He's sitting here talking to shit to Jalen Hurts at the end of the game, saying he didn't get 100 yards. And Jalen Hurts, rightfully so, tells them we won the game. That's used to be what the Chiefs were like.
Move, dude. That was
yeah.
so.
Yeah, and obviously Chris Jones has the mental error last week where he's not setting the edge against Justin Herbert, and he makes an easy run. Like right now, Omar Norman-Lott has more sacks than Chris Jones. I don't think anybody was going to think that was going to happen. And Omar Norman-Lott has only played 1 game. So these guys, this team is only going to go as far as its stars are going to take it. Those guys have to be better. Again, Mahomes, I think he deserves the least amount of blame. But Andy Reid, there was a lot of talk about the team coming out flat in Brazil. Why? You've had all training camp. You have a Super Bowl to avenge. I understand that there was a time differential. I understand that there was a bus ride and a long flight. But why are they coming flat? This is the first game of the year.
Well, and part of me thinks that there was just a little bit of looking forward past that game to the Eagles. And you could tell, especially early, that defense came out and they were throwing haymakers. We were like, they were like, we are not going to lose to the Eagles again, which good for the defense. I think they did great, especially early. But I couldn't agree with you more, Price. Like, it's such a bad look when Travis Kelce is on the sideline saying, hey, I'm sick of this shit. And then the very next possession, he goes down and he hands the ball to the defensive back. And it's a guy we could have drafted too. And then towards the end of the game, it's Chris Jones over there talking shit across the line when we're about to lose. It's like, okay, that's a weak player move, genuinely. And then Mahomes goes to the presser and says, hey, it's all my fault, guys. I got to do better. And you go, dude, this doesn't feel right for a Kansas City Chiefs team. It just doesn't. It's so disgusting. And it looks like, I don't know, maybe we're on pumpkin watch here for Andy Reid, but he looked like Brandon Staley out there this past week, like going for it on 4th down, doing dumb shit with the clock. And, Yeah, you're right. This team is built off of those 4 guys. Those 4 guys have been incredible. I do think that they have to turn it around though. And that kind of leads me to my next point here. Um, you like to give Mahomes a lot of credit, and I do as well. I think he did a pretty good job this past game, but I think one of my biggest takeaways was Mahomes doesn't trust his arm deep down the field anymore. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if that's based off the receivers and how he doesn't trust them, or if it's based off of, I have to play so conservatively because, if we give one away, we don't have the offensive firepower to go back there and just get it right back. And this team relies so heavily on the defense that I think it could also be that. But I counted 1 missed throw down the field. We all saw that Thornton throw. It was not fantastic. Overthrew him by a mile. You like to have that one back if you're Mahomes. And I think he's, you can give him 1 or 2 a game. But then I went through again, and he didn't take about 6 opportunities down the field where a guy was open enough that if he makes that throw and he makes it accurately, like it's 2019, and he's got a 51% deep completion percentage, that's 60-yard gain, 50, 60-yard gain. And so if Mahomes isn't going to do that, and the offense has to be this like dink and dunk all the way down the field, you're just begging for mistakes to happen. That's the whole game plan against the Chiefs now, is let them make mistakes. They will eventually make one, and then let's be efficient on offense, and we'll get it back. And so I think if Mahomes does that, if those other guys step up, like you said, this team can turn around really, really quickly. But all of that has to happen for it to make a significant impact.
Yeah, and I do think that the misses down the field are frustrating, especially because it feels like he has to throw 4 to hit 1, like he's got to reel it in. And I don't remember it being as much of an issue as it is before. I frankly think that it's still, he doesn't trust the protection as much. And the quickest path to the quarterback's on the inside. We were talking about Quintus Suamatia and his woes. I think that that's somewhere again that they're just going to have to get better. I will say that I do think that it is a trust thing. Hopefully Rice and Worthy will help those things bring the game along. And there's obviously some rapport there with Tyquan Thornton. At this point, they've hit 2 deep shots to him so far in the season. You'll take that. More than anything, it's just got to be consistent. Like we were talking about Andy Reid and his scheme and stuff, but he can still get guys high school wide open. When Tyquan Thornton was that high school wide open, you got to hit it. You don't get those back. I mean, legitimately, high school quarterbacks can make that throw. Obviously, I truly think it's he couldn't believe it. It was so open, like that type of thing. You know what I mean? Like it was like, oh my gosh, and maybe that's why it came out hot. But yeah, it's that has to be fixed for sure.
Yeah, it's really frustrating as well, especially when you don't have those guys that you drafted specifically to do that. Like Xavier Worthy not being on the field. You think that there's at least 2 or 3 of those that he's like, Xavier Worthy's 2 more yards open than Jason Brownlee, who's running the same route for him. And it's like,
yeah,
those self-inflicted wounds just seem to keep piling up. And that goes back to the reliability though, too, that I was talking about earlier. It's like, if you don't have reliable guys on the roster, you got to go get one. And I don't think the running back's reliable. I don't think the wide receivers at this point are reliable. Chiefs got to make a move. We'll see.
My next takeaway, there's a lot of really encouraging things about the way the defense played. I thought the safety play was much cleaner. Posted some nice snaps of Brian Cook, who's looks like he's reading, reacting, and thinking a little bit less, triggering. I thought a little bit less Shamari Connor in the slot was a good sign to see. That's even with having basically Christian Fulton go out after 2 plays, which, by the way, it's very early for this to happen, but it wouldn't surprise me if we're sitting here next year talking about Christian Fulton contract just being a total waste, because always hurt players always get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Like Dre Greenlaw missed the Broncos game and they lost. Guess what? He always gets hurt. Always hurt players always get hurt. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like players don't get more healthy the longer they're in the NFL. So there's that. But I thought overall the secondary looked much better. Jaden Hicks looked like his head was spinning a little bit less. They did some nice things. With all of that being said, this is a totally unsustainable defensive game plan that they rolled out there. And I'm not sure I can take a whole lot away from it long term. The Chiefs, blitzed Jalen Hurts on 16 of his 25 dropbacks. That's 64%, the highest blitz rate by the Chiefs defense in a single game since Steve Spagnuolo became the defensive coordinator in 2019. Hurts was able to minimize the pressure when he was blitzed, only a 2.11 time to throw, his quickest time to throw against the blitz in a game in his career. That's insane. This was covers. Hey, good for them. They showed some ability to cover with man on the back end. There were some exciting things there, but the inability to get pressure with 4, I know that there was a lot of frustration with that in this game. One, Jalen Hurts is a rush lane integrity guy. So there are some times that they are more holding contain in the pocket than they are pass rushing. Also, we know that this is a great offensive line. Lane Johnson allowed 0 pressures yesterday. George Karlaftis, you just got paid. Would have liked to see a little bit more from you than 0 pressures. With all that being said, again, I'm not willing to just wave away the defense, say it's fixed, everything's better, because this game plan was just so wild. And I mean, going back to the Jalen Hurts, we won the game. That they're perfectly content to do this. The Eagles are, where they ask their stars to go make 2 or 3 plays, like the jump ball to Devontae Smith, like the Saquon Barkley touchdown. We're going to use our great offensive line and we'll convert our tush pushes. And our defense is good enough right now. Where, you saw some flashes from Jihad Campbell and some of the young players that they have that are ascending on this team, that we can just lean on you. We're like a boa constrictor. We're just going to keep squeezing and tush pushing our way across. So again, I think there's some really encouraging signs with the defense, but I'm not ready to wave it away because the game plan was just so unsustainable.
Yeah. The amount of blitzes that were sent is, unparalleled in the league. I don't think there was another team that came close to the amount of blitzes that the Chiefs sent on Sunday. The only thing that I'll say, though, is that I think this is something that can be replicated with maybe one other team in the league. And if you look at the Ravens and how their roster is constructed, they don't have the wide receiving weapons that the Eagles do, but I think that they have the ability to throw the ball a little bit better than Jalen Hurts does. So I think you could maybe see a similar game plan with the Ravens, but that's the only other team in the league that's going to have the same sort of game plan. I think that you're right. I don't know if this is going to be able to translate. They're definitely not going to be able to do that against a team with Josh Allen on it. That's for damn sure. Or, when Joe Burrow comes back against them. So we'll have to wait and see if there are some things. One thing that I was encouraged by, and you talked about it, and this is my last, I guess I have another one if you have another one, but
yeah, I got one more. Yeah.
Okay. My third biggest takeaway was the defensive back rotation. You spoke to it a little bit. Cook played fantastic. I think that Jaden Hicks played an incredible game as well. Noel Williams looks like that late round DB that Brett Veach steals every single year. Super physical, super dominant on the outside. Trent McDuffie had the one slip up with that arm punt, but listen, man, if you're coaching DBs and they catch one of those, you just go, we'll let you have that one. If you make one of those plays a game, that's fine. You can have one 50-50 ball. We'll take the other 99 plays we have during the game, and we'll win all those. I think Jamari Conner looked pretty good in the rotation. It was not like he got exposed a lot. I understand that, the game plan there was to kind of take out the running game and kind of leave these guys out on an island. Him versus Jihad Johnson, I think he did a fantastic job, who was, a first-round pick that the Commanders took a few years ago that we both liked coming out of the draft. So not an easy matchup. I think he did a pretty damn good job. And if you have those DBs coming back, that's with the exit of Christian Fulton, I think you have a real shot at having a defensive back group that, you can sort of lean on. And honest to God, that's what they're going to need with this defensive line being as piss poor as it was last night.
Yeah, my final takeaway is the kids. Let the kids play. I wrote about that this week, that the easiest path for the Chiefs to improve is their youth. You get a sack out of Omar Norman-Lott, which was kind of a hustle sack. I'm not going to say he just ripped through the defense, but he still managed to close and get that done. Was credited with a run stop as well too. Put a nice clip of the Ashton Gelati's run defense. Also was credited with the pressure. Noel Williams played 8 snaps, but they were encouraging snaps. As far as he was actually making plays on the ball and appeared to be in the right spot. His athleticism is showing. Please Let's get more Noah Williams, start getting him integrated into the offense. One, this defense is yet to force a takeaway. That's something he excelled at in college. Then also, like, Najee Johnson could potentially be coming back from the IR here in the next couple weeks. So let's get Noah Williams up and going, because let's be real, we know that Christian Fulton's not going to be playing, and I don't need to see Najee Johnson out there. So getting them out there was a good sign. And we still haven't seen anything from Jalen Royals because of the injury. I would still like to see them do a little bit more. At least Brashard Smith got a touch this week. And then we've already hit it at the top, but Josh Simmons, like, right now this is starting to look like a promising draft class. So this could be a huge thing where, in 2022, the Chiefs leaned on rookie defensive backs a lot and ended up working for them. So that's something that I think is encouraging here. So you want to talk about how does this get better? Obviously, they go into New York next week. It is a must-win game, right? Like I talked about it afterwards. You got the Ravens, who are still really good. You've got the Jags, who at least have some adults in the room now. You've got the Raiders, who, again, have adults in the room. I don't think that the Raiders are a wagon, but again, like, we saw the Chiefs almost salt a game away to the Raiders last year when they had Aiden freaking O'Connell. So any given Sunday, all those things, like, that can be concerning. After the Jags, they have, let's see, after the Jags, it is the Lions, who look much better after their week 1 loss. And then they go to the Raiders, and then it's to the Commanders, who still have Jay Daniels. I mean, it doesn't look easier. And oh, by the way, like, the Colts haven't punted yet, and they're on their schedule too. So, like, it's a must win. You cannot fall to 0-3 with a loss on Sunday Night Football to Russell Wilson and with a terrible offensive line. So, at this point, like, it's time to put them on the table and let them hang, Andy. Like, they cannot come out in this game and look and be holding stuff back. Hopefully they have Xavier Worthy back. I'd love to see them have Jalen Royals back, even if they can just get him a couple of mesh, underneath crossing routes and get him running out in space. Just get some explosiveness back in this offense.
Yeah, and to me, I understand where you're coming from, especially talking about those young guys coming back in and playing, and starting to make some plays. My thing is, though, I just don't see, like I was talking about earlier, the reliability of this offense I don't think is there. I think we got to trade for somebody, whether that's a running back, which I know the fandom would just die for, even though we're starting, 4 guys who couldn't make a practice squad on 10 other teams at wide receiver. But trading for, I guess you can't really sign for a wide receiver. There aren't any good ones, but trading for one of those guys, somebody who can come in and bring some stability, some reliability to the room. I think that you can make some of these incremental changes, especially when Xavier Worthy is coming back from injury. But I mean, Hollywood Brown is a question mark. Like, he has not been the healthiest player in his entire career. If you're telling me we have to lean on a wide receiver who weighs 170 pounds, who has a torn labrum, as the focal point of the Chiefs offense for the next 4 weeks, I don't like that game plan. I had teammates who had torn labrums in high school and know people who have had torn labrums. It's not a fun injury to work through. It's a lot of pain. I know they have I mean, it's not a weak injury, especially to a wide receiver who's catching pistol missiles thrown by one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Like,
the chance of re-injury are high.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially for a guy who we have documented is smaller. So it's not some sure thing that he's going to come back and be the same old version of himself. And it's not some sure thing that you're going to have him for the full year. So that makes that gap between Rashee Rice and them much more significant as well, too. So there's a lot going on with the Chiefs. And I do think that there's a chance, we've said this several times, that they are a worse team by record, but a better team when they get to the playoffs. I think overall, the biggest concerns, the things I just keep coming back to that will hurt this team, lack of a running game. They cannot continue to live this. One, I don't need to see Patrick Mahomes lowering the shoulder. It's cool that he was able to do that. And,
I was going to say, it's badass. Price, what are you talking about? We have Josh Allen at quarterback now.
Yeah, I know. The constant nonstop whining about, like, oh, should he be tackled? Patrick Mahomes is baiting people. Patrick Mahomes has more rush yards right now than Jahmyr Gibbs, Chase Brown, Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels, Devon Achane, Lamar Jackson, and David Montgomery.
It's my QB, baby.
Also, just like, what a hell of a take by Mr. Keatsman, that he was out of shape and
Oh my
stopped with the
God.
fast food and the Coors Light. Hell of a take by him for him to come out and like have over 100 yards rushing. Like, dude really looks out of shape. Great analysis by you.
Have you seen like the yards per carry for them? I know for quarterbacks it's always inflated, but just between our running backs and our quarterbacks, it's like Patrick Mahomes has 12 carries for 130 yards, and then Kareem Hunt has 13 carries for 47, and Isaiah Pacheco has 14 for 53 or something stupid. I mean, it's
Dude,
just god
it,
awful stats from our running back.
it's just so silly that we sat here all off season. We know they're going to take a running back. They've got to. You know, we're sitting here talking about Quinshawn and Travion Henderson and RJ Harvey and guys like that. And then,
Dylan
you know,
Sampson late.
yeah, and then like has I don't think Jeffrey Bass has played a single defensive snap, special teams guy only. And look, maybe Jeffrey Bassett really turns into something and he's their replacement for Drew Tranquil long term and he plays starter level snaps in the next couple of years. Then we can have that conversation. But boy, howdy. The fact that we're sitting here longing for, you know, the Chiefs to make a move at running back, it's frustrating because this was a known need and they basically ran it back with the same group of guys.
Yeah. And I know there was some like expectation that Isaiah Pacheco after that injury was not 100% and he was going to come back better than ever. I think that we truly underestimated or maybe overestimated Isaiah Pacheco at 100%. We saw that first year and said, "Oh, this is a guy that could be Jamal Charles-esque, like somebody, I don't know who was saying that, but around that type, like a legit game changer. He's got 4.27 speed as a or as a running back."
Or
And
they had a top 30 visit with Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt.
yeah,
Like all the thing with the Brashard Smith pick is like you like the upside, but there just wasn't enough track record as a running back to just say we can rely on him year one. Merritt, there was just a weird eligibility issue with him. In case you didn't know, last year at Arizona, Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt traded jersey numbers with a player on the team, and Arizona, like for some reason they didn't report it or something, and then the NCAA saw that number on the field and said, "Oh no, you played last year. You're out of eligibility." And he said, "No, that was my number last year. This is my new number." So like the jersey was worn, so technically he was not able to play. He played one game last year. It's really
oh my
stupid.
God, dude. I
Yeah,
hadn't heard about that, but
yeah, that's part of the reason why he just kind of had a weird profile, right? And then like someone here in the
mhm,
chat talking about Cam Scattaboo, the Gabagoo, the Cam Scattaboo. Okay, believe me,
mhm.
I like again the frustrating thing with the running back position. We can name dudes forever, right? Like just guys naming
Mhm.
dudes. We'll just sit here and just be naming dudes. But at the end of the day, like yeah, running back, it's got to improve. I threw out a hypothetical. Would you send a 4th round pick for Devon Achane?
In a second.
A lot of people were reacting like they thought that was way too low, and I don't know, like
No,
the
4th round for a running back is about the
so
asking price, I think.
he was taken in the late third, like the 90s. They have drafted Ollie Gordon and Jalen Wright since. That team
Mhm.
is on total meltdown mode. They're not going to pay Devon Achane because they've got all these other contracts that they've got to figure out, like Tyreek, like Tua, all those. Like it just makes no sense to their life cycle to be terribly committed to Devon Achane long term. And he still has he'll have this year and next year of rookie contract, and then you could manipulate him with the franchise tag too. I mean, to me that just looks like an Andy Reid running back. By the way, he's not a pass protection guy. Like he's a guy that you're getting like running plays for on first and second down, and he's a weapon in the passing game, but he's not like Kareem Hunt would still have a role in this team. Isaiah Pacheco would still have he's basically more fully developed Brashard Smith. He's a little bit smaller. There have been some injury concerns, but I'd be all over that.
Oh, 100%. And you look at other guys, the problem with trading is you're never going to get some top tier dude unless you're going to pay him. Like he's at the end of his contract and you're going to give him a big contract. I think Jerome Ford from the Browns could be another guy where it's like, hey, we've got a, second and third down running back who can come out of the backfield, is explosive, really, really fast guy. Loved him coming out of the draft. But he seems like he's the odd man out in Cleveland. And that's you're getting somebody else's trash. I hate to call a player that, but you're getting somebody else's leftovers. Anytime you're trading for a running back, it's either the team is on meltdown and they're trying to save money, or you're getting somebody who couldn't make it in the room that they're in. And that's unfortunately the position that we're in right now, where we have to kind of go dumpster diving for these players that we need, and we need them to be reliable. That's just it's super unfortunate, but that's where we're at in the season. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think Veach is going to pull the trigger on a running back. I just can't see it, especially for an Andy Reid offense. Even though we are desperate for good running back play, just doesn't seem like that type of move for Brett Veach.
Well, especially because pass rush is something that's pretty consistently available at the trade deadline, and that feels like it's somewhere that's going to need to be addressed, like a Bradley Chubb, something like that. We're talking about the Dolphins being a very obvious seller. That's a name that can make some sense for them, or Jalen Phillips, but I think he's a guy that would he just doesn't really fit their profile. Kayvon Thibodeau, former top 5 pick. He's long, athletic.
I love that.
Yeah, that's pretty fun to think about. But yeah, again, we're sitting here week 2, 0-2, talking about players that they have to trade to fix these things whenever most of these things were issues last year. So I am still holding a candle out that the pass rush will get going this week. There's no excuses this week for the pass rush. Okay. The Giants offensive line, I tweeted this. Their left tackle that they had start the game committed 4 penalties on one drive, 2 of which were 15-yard penalties. And I said, Jawan Taylor accepts this as a challenge.
Yes, dude, I saw that tweet.
Yeah, thank God Jawan Taylor did get his 1 penalty in this game. I thought he was going to go one without it, but he did manage to get it in. Evan Neal is a mess. The Giants offensive line is really bad. Russell Wilson holds on to the ball a lot. He's not very mobile anymore. There's no excuses. They've got to get to the quarterback here. I'm pulling the full 5 alarm fire if they do not get to the quarterback in this game, especially because I think Gelati over Dana might be an upgrade as a pass rusher. I'm not going to say maybe as a full player. You've got Omar Norman-Lott playing more snaps, hopefully. If they don't get to the quarterback against the Giants, they've got real issues.
Yeah. Yeah, and what would be a win? Would you consider a win that would put us back on track? If you were talking, I know you don't want to quantify it into sacks, but what would a game look like if we're back here on next Monday and we're saying, okay, thank God we've got a shot. This is the team that we're looking at. Well, I mean, I don't think that you can do it without Rashee Rice on the field. But defensively,
it's just gonna be hard because the next week is Lamar Jackson, another guy that you have to play a totally unique style of defense where it's as much about contain as it is pass rush. Honestly, what I would feel great about is if you get some contributions from the rookies, whether it just be pressures or sacks. Chris Jones looks like, if we could get a Chris sack, 2-sack game from Chris Jones, that would be fantastic to feel good about. Just something there where it's okay, there it is. They have it. It's not going to be as consistent, but they don't need to be top 5, but they can't be bottom 5 either.
Yeah.
And they cannot be bringing 68% blitzes. That's not sustainable for any team anywhere. So, but there's a lot to look forward to here in the Kingdom. And I do think that better times are ahead. I ultimately think this team wins 11, 12 games. They go to the playoffs. I think the AFC West is still totally in hand. Someone's going to win the Raiders and Chargers game. Maybe they tie, but one of those teams will be 2-0. Then the Broncos and the other team will be 1-1, and the Chiefs will be 0-2. Keep in mind, as the schedule plays out, the next hardest game on their schedule is probably at Denver in the AFC West. That's after a bye. The Chargers come to Kansas City in Denver or in December. You like that as far as them traveling that direction, and a team that plays in a dome in warm weather coming in December. They've got a quarterback that and a style of game that can play well in the cold weather, but ultimately you would prefer that. And then they've got the 2 Raiders games. So this is far from over. But
7 in division games with the rest of the season on. This is not a lost season. The dynasty is not over yet officially.
The tales of my death are early, not quite there yet.
Yeah.
Whatever the quote is, I can't remember. But we do appreciate you guys joining us. Thank you for this therapy session. We needed this. It looks like the chat at one time someone was talking in Spanish in the chat about I could almost make it out my broken high school level Spanish education about DeAndre Hopkins drop. So however you want to get out, whatever language you want to, we're here to do it with you here at Arrowhead Addict. We've got a show every single day of the week. Next week on Sunday Night Football, we'll have pregame, halftime, and postgame. Hopefully the first postgame celebration of the year. Please get in the chat with us and talk it up. what is it? The tales of my death have been greatly exaggerated, says Sean. Okay, there we go. That's it. I couldn't quite reach for it, but please join us on Arrowhead Addict. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining. Thank you to Christian. Thank you for Sean for knowing the quote. That's going to be it from us today. As always, go Chiefs.